What deadline did Donald Trump set for Putin? Who will head our government? And when will it be 40 degrees in Ukraine? We'll talk about this and more today on TSN. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, watch the broadcast, and be sure to comment on what caught your interest. And while you're hitting the like button, check out the preview of Monday's important topics. Donald Trump and his promises.
We will send the patriots they desperately need.
Will the President of the United States provide Ukraine not only with air defense, but also with offensive weapons? Relentless terror. A massive missile and Shahid drone attack on Sumy. What is known about the victims and the destruction? 50 days for Putin and weapons for Ukraine. Donald Trump's meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte brought long-awaited news for Kyiv. The President of the United States agreed to a plan under which European countries will send military equipment to Ukraine through NATO channels, and America will replace their equipment with new supplies. Moreover, this concerns weaponry that NATO countries will purchase specifically to supply to Ukraine, including Patriot systems. We're talking about 17 units. This meeting in the Oval Office, like many others, turned from a standard protocol into a full-blown briefing, as was Trump's habit. During it, in particular, there was a threat made to Putin. If there is no peace within 50 days, Trump will impose secondary tariffs on goods from all countries that buy oil, gas, uranium, and other products from Russia. Rutte managed to get Trump to admit out loud that Ukraine wants peace, unlike Russia. When asked why the Kremlin is being given yet another almost 2-month reprieve from sanctions, the American president did not answer. He also couldn't clearly explain why he talks about 100% secondary tariffs instead of 50%. Sorry, 500%. And that's exactly what's specified in the bill currently under consideration in the Senate. However, he once again repeated that he is disappointed in Putin and his unwillingness to end the war in Ukraine. The NATO Secretary General has repeatedly praised Trump's approach to the Kremlin dictator, suggesting that the West's patience is now running out. Trump apparently agreed with this opinion as well and once again emphasized weapons for Ukraine. Now other countries are buying from America.
I know Putin well, ever since the days when I was Prime Minister. You tested him. You gave him the opportunity to seriously sit down at the table and start peace negotiations. Marco Rubio did that. We all did that. But it doesn't bear fruit, and it's time to say so.
There could have been an agreement reached 4 times already, but then, unfortunately, bombs start falling again, and they simply say, there will be no agreement whatsoever.
But what you did is important, because the process had to be started. And you are the only one who could do it.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Do you think he's reasonable enough to start negotiations now?
I think we'll do it because the situation is very strong. Very wealthy countries are buying the best equipment in the world, and we really do have the best equipment in the world. No one else does that. Our submarines and nuclear submarines are so powerful. No one else has anything like them. We're 20 years ahead of everyone. We have the best equipment. I hope we won't have to use it.
Well, on the first day of his visit to Ukraine, Trump's special envoy met with President Zelensky. They talked about sanctions against Russia, joint weapons production, and strengthening air defense. And also about defense procurements together with European partners. Keith Kellogg arrived in Ukraine this morning. The visit is preliminarily scheduled for 7 days. It is known that the president is preparing meetings for him, including with the heads of intelligence and the security service of Ukraine. Trump's special envoy is expected to discuss strengthening security, weapons, sanctions, and the protection of people. There are already 11 wounded today in Sumy. The city is under drone attacks. One of the drones struck a local institution of higher education. Medical assistance was needed for 6 people, and another 5 residents were injured during the attack on a medical facility. Oksana Solodovnik will provide more details about Russian terror next.
Almost constant air raid alerts and the buzzing of Russian drones. The city of Sumy is once again under a massive attack by enemy Shahids. Practically every hour, you can hear the work of mobile fire teams and the sounds of explosions from interceptions and impacts. In the morning, around 11 o'clock, a Russian attack drone struck a university building. 6 people required medical assistance. A 19-year-old young man was hospitalized. Most of the injured suffered wounds from glass shards. Less than an hour later, while medics, police, and journalists were working at the site of the strike, law enforcement reported the movement of another drone and the possibility of a second attack. People managed to take shelter in a safe place. Our film crew had managed to drive just 200 meters away from the building when a powerful explosion rang out.
And another one. To the shelter. Another one. Stay calm, let's go in.
Then, a powerful strike hit the exact same spot, precisely where it had been targeted.
A Shahid drone has just struck one of the educational institutions. There's a wounded person next to me. A guy is sitting here, wounded in the legs. We're taking him to the hospital. We will provide further information.
For the third time, an enemy drone has hit one of the hospitals in Sumy, where a fire broke out. 5 people were injured and the hospital building and a car were damaged. And already in the afternoon, another Shahid once again struck the university building that the Russians had attacked in the morning. Meanwhile, energy workers are still working to restore electricity supply in Sumy. At night, as a result of a strike on a critical infrastructure facility, a large-scale fire broke out. Part of the city was left without power, and several institutions were switched to backup power. Enemy FPV drones are increasingly attacking civilian vehicles and emergency services. The day before, they attacked a motor cultivator. A 57-year-old man was killed, and his brother was hospitalized. During the evacuation of the wounded man, the Russians struck again, targeting the emergency medical team. The medics were saved from severe injuries by an anti-drone corridor made of netting over the road and an armored vehicle.
As soon as they got out of the vehicle, an FPV drone broke through the netting and hit near the vehicle, just about 2 meters away. It was aiming right at the vehicle. The netting might have shifted it a little.
The paramedics.
Yes, at the vehicle with our paramedics, our emergency medical team, the paramedics.
Shazka is also suffering from heavy shelling. At night, the enemy struck critical infrastructure in residential areas of the city, launching 10 drones and 2 guided aerial bombs. As a result of the attack, 2 men were killed. 4 residents of an apartment building were injured, including a mother and her 7-year-old son. Oksana Solodovnik, Alexander Levin, Sumy TSN 1+1.
The final rites of those killed in the Russian attack on Chernivtsi were performed today. A 26-year-old girl was buried in Zastavna in Bukovina, and a 43-year-old man was buried in the village of Butylib. He was originally from neighboring Ivano-Frankivsk region. 4 seriously wounded people remain in the hospital. The condition of the 44-year-old woman is critical. On the night before Saturday, Chernivtsi suffered the heaviest shelling since the start of the full-scale war. The enemy targeted the city with 4 Shahids and a missile. At the same time, Lviv was also attacked. There, 1 person was hospitalized, and the explosions damaged nearly 50 houses, one of which is beyond repair. That's what the experts have already determined.
This war keeps following me. I was there for 2 years. Now I left and came here. And you see, it hit here too. But the most important thing is that everyone is alive. For now, we're living in a hotel, and at the same time, we're looking for a new place.
There is 1 dead and already 10 wounded in Zlatopil, Kharkiv region. During the day, the Russians attacked the city with drones, targeting residential neighborhoods. A 57-year-old woman did not survive the enemy strikes. Her 13-year-old daughter sustained multiple shrapnel wounds. Doctors are saving the girl and 9 other adults. And in the village of Borivsk, the occupiers dropped a guided aerial bomb. It is known that 1 person was killed and 4 were wounded, including a teenager. All of them required hospitalization. Meanwhile, the number of wounded in Kherson has risen to 10. Since morning, the Russians have been attacking the Dnipro district with drones, while shelling the central district with artillery. City residents have blast injuries and shrapnel wounds. 3 of them were injured at public transport stops. A woman was injured by a pedal mine in the suburbs, an administrative building was destroyed, and fires broke out in the city center. The Russians killed 2 civilians and wounded 7 more in Donetsk region. The deceased were residents of the village of Bakov. Among the injured are 3 residents of Kostyantynivka and 2 from Dobripilya. In Sloviansk, a mother and child were wounded. Here, the occupiers dropped at least 3 high-explosive aerial bombs. With suitcases and small bags meant to hold their entire lives, volunteers evacuated the last families with children from the frontline communities of Dnipropetrovsk region. The second forced evacuation lasted almost a month and a half and covered 14 villages. During this time, more than 900 miners were able to leave for safer places away from the war. Anastasia Naverna witnessed how, to the sound of artillery, people say goodbye to their homes.
It's unusually noisy in Mrs. Angela's yard, with a pile of boxes and bags by the door. The woman is confused, trying to take as many things as possible with her. She says she feels like she's leaving her childhood home forever.
If it were possible, I would just take this house and move it with us to another place. I would be so happy.
Angela is one of the last people evacuating from Mazova with her children. She says she held on because of her job and her house, but the airstrikes with glide bombs are forcing her to leave. This family will go all the way to distant Zakarpattia.
We're all on edge right now, but we're holding on. Yes, it's really scary. I'm very worried about the safety and health of my children.
Finally, the packing is done, and with their favorite toys in hand, the kids and their mom head to the bus.
All right, stay in touch.
Stay in touch. Okay, call us.
On the way, they pick up another family. They have just a few bags, and a kitten is desperately clinging to one of them. In a hurry, the grandmother, who is staying behind to look after the house, wishes her family good luck.
Have a safe trip.
After catching her breath a bit, Mrs. Alina explains she and her son are not going far, just to Pavlorad. That's 90 kilometers from Mazova. They hope to return home someday.
We hope that at least there, we won't be reached, at least for a while. When they're attacking one place, nobody wants to see anything different.
While we wait for another family, a local resident approaches the evacuation team near their yard. She asks if her husband and son with disabilities can be evacuated in the coming days.
We could even do it tomorrow, right?
Yes, whenever you need. We work 24/7.
Another family is being picked up on the outskirts of the village. There's no time for long goodbyes here. An FPV drone or a glide bomb could hit at any moment. Locals even advise not to turn off the engine.
You just won't have time.
If a missile flies by somewhere, the FPV won't miss. So yeah, they're really hitting hard.
That's why everyone rushes to the bus. Alya is already on the bus. Volunteers from the humanitarian mission Proliska came to evacuate these families. Since January, when the enemy approached Dnipropetrovsk region and started bombing frontline communities, they've managed to save nearly 2,000 people. Today, they're taking out the last of the children from Mazova.
Mazova is the largest settlement. There used to be a lot of children here, but very quickly, in about a month, we managed to evacuate all the children who were subject to this evacuation. Every family is a separate case. Everyone has their own needs.
We have an MDP in the Dnipropetrovsk region. In addition, we have a memorandum with the Zakarpattia Regional Military Administration, and thanks to Proliska, an MDP has been opened in Berhov. Moreover, 14 regions are ready to receive our people. There is also support there.
It seems like everyone has been gathered, and we can head to a safer area. But then, a few people report that they made it out on foot and by bicycle from the farthest village of the Mazivska community, Novopodorin, which is 15 kilometers from here. One of them is wounded. We need to pick them up too.
I need a rapid medical evacuation to Mazova. My wounded person from Novopodorin made it out on foot. We urgently need an evacuation to Dnipro.
The wounded man is Mr. Anatoly. There isn't a single uninjured spot on his body. Everything is cut up by shrapnel. He has a severe concussion. All his belongings and documents were burned. He says he was dug out twice after KAB's hit.
I was home alone. It landed right in the middle of the yard. They helped me get out. Then a friend took me in. I was living in the kitchen. And 2 days later, it hid behind the kitchen. And I got buried again.
The second wave of forced evacuation in Dnipropetrovsk region is complete in 14 villages. No children remain on the border with Donetsk region. With the front rapidly approaching, volunteers prepare for new rescue missions. Anastasia Navarina, Vladislav Kamyshin, Dnipropetrovsk region, TSN 1+1.
The government reboot has begun. President Zelensky met with First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko and proposed that she head the government. He added that he expects the presentation of the action program in the near future. The First Deputy Prime Minister thanked the President for his trust and shared on Facebook the main tasks of the renewed cabinet: strengthening economic potential, expanding support programs for Ukrainians, and scaling up domestic weapons production. To achieve this, she aims to eliminate bureaucracy, reduce non-critical government spending and duplication of functions among state institutions, and focus state resources on defense and the recovery of Ukraine. Sviridenko also announced that she will soon present proposals for candidates for ministerial positions. 39-year-old Sviridenko has been working in the government since 2019 and has also served as deputy head of the president's office. She played a leading role in the negotiations and adoption of the Minerals Agreement, which became an important element in Kiev's relations with the Donald Trump administration. If the deputies agree to appoint Sviridenko as the new head of government, she will become the second woman after Yulia Tymoshenko to hold this position. Denis Shmihal, whom Sviridenko is set to replace, may become the new Minister of Defense, according to insider sources. As for Rustam Umerov, who currently heads the Ministry of Defense, Zelensky plans to appoint him as ambassador to the United States, replacing Oksana Makarova. Several other ambassadors are also likely to lose their positions. And the news about the possible appointment of Yulia Sviridenko as head of government was quickly picked up by social media. First of all, users are noting the similarity in names between the current First Deputy Prime Minister and the former longtime Prime Minister, Yulia Tymoshenko. But TSN has some unique, previously unpublished footage. Yulia Sviridenko is playing the piano. This happened last fall during an event attended by many representatives of foreign organizations and diplomatic missions. It took place on the grounds of the St. Sophia Cathedral Reserve. After the official part, the head of the Ministry of Economy unexpectedly sat down at the piano and played Chervona Ruda.
Because your exquisite beauty is truly like pure, crystal clear water, much like the swiftly flowing, pristine water that originates from the majestic Blue Mountains.
What impact could changes in the government have? And who would you like to see as the head of the cabinet of ministers in general? And for example, as the Minister of Defense of Ukraine in particular? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments for this broadcast on YouTube. And of course, give it a like. Subscribe to the channel, and the TSN episode continues. We still have many important topics ahead. And finally, a funny incident at the Bastille Day celebration. A stubborn horse decided to show its character and fell onto the road along with its rider. All of this happened during the cavalry procession. The stallion lost its balance and toppled over onto its side. Fortunately, the rider managed to jump away just in time, but the incident did dampen the overall mood a bit. Bastille Day is an important national holiday in France, symbolizing the key event that marked the beginning of the French Revolution. On this occasion, a large-scale military parade was organized in the middle of the Champs-Élysées in central Paris, attended by President Macron and his wife, with the President of Indonesia and Indonesian troops, who joined the march as special guests. Through the streets of the French capital marched infantry, cavalry, sniffer dogs, heavy equipment and tanks rolled by, while helicopters and fighter jets of the French Air Force flew overhead, leading trails in the colors of the French flag. Just on the eve of the celebration, Emmanuel Macron announced that they want to double the military budget by 2027 due to current geopolitical challenges, and it will amount to 64 billion euros. Are the large-scale military parades, first in London, then in Washington, and now in Paris, meant to send some kind of message to Putin? And most importantly, are the people of Western countries ready for the fact that the military threat from Russia will become increasingly real and tangible for them, and therefore, that they need to keep their weapons at the ready? Share your thoughts about all this in the comments. Of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you can stay up to date with all the important news. Well, for now, thank you for staying with TSN. And here are the highlights for Monday, July 14th. Trump's special representative arrived in Ukraine and met with President Zelensky. They discussed sanctions against Russia, joint weapons production, strengthening air defense, and also defense procurements together with European partners. Keith Kellogg is scheduled to spend 7 days in Ukraine. 50,000 hryvnias for the birth of a child. The Ukrainian government has introduced a new one-time payment. There will also be an e-nursery system with support for parents who return to work or, on the contrary, dedicate themselves to raising their child. According to the government's plan, parents of first graders will also receive 5,000 hryvnias. President Zelensky met with First Deputy Prime Minister Yulia Sviridenko and proposed that she head the government. 39-year-old Sviridenko has been working in the cabinet since 2019. If the deputies approve her candidacy, Sviridenko will become the second woman after Yulia Tymoshenko to hold this position. Denis Shmihal, whom Sviridenko is set to replace, may become the new Minister of Defense, according to insider sources. 11 people were injured in Sumy. The city was under drone attacks on Monday. One of the drones struck a higher education institution. 6 people required medical assistance. And another 5 residents were injured during the attack on a medical facility. Donald Trump promised to send Patriots to Ukraine. He has not yet specified whether he means entirely new systems or just interceptor missiles for them. Trump says that the European Union will pay for the supply. Volunteers have evacuated the last families with children from the frontline communities of the Dnipropetrovsk region. The second forced evacuation lasted almost a month and a half and covered 14 villages. During this time, more than 900 miners were able to leave for safer areas away from the war. A record special confiscation of 2,600 million hryvnias to the state budget. This is money from the online casino pinup, which had ties to the Russian Federation. The Asset Recovery and Management Agency reports on the confiscation. The director of the company connected to Russians was detained in February this year. He was sentenced to 5 years behind bars. Thunderstorms, hail, and squally winds. Meteorologists are warning of a first-level danger in the western regions of Ukraine. No precipitation is expected in the rest of the country. On Thursday and Friday, temperatures across the country will drop slightly, rise again over the weekend, and next week some regions are expected to experience abnormal heat. Temperatures could even reach up to 40 degrees Celsius. The price of blueberries in Ukraine is breaking records. Forest berries are selling for twice or even 3 times as much as last year. Villagers are selling them to wholesalers for 170 hryvnias per kilogram, while by the roadside they're being sold retail for 200. They say there are fewer berries than usual because many were killed off by the spring frosts.